cops.
Huh?
What? Cops. And they ain't carrying no picket signs.
They're going to kick somebody's ass.
And now, a word on nutrition.
Shit, he's fucked up.
Bad language makes for bad feelings.
Let's go.
The point is...
It's been a little while since I've seen this one. RoboCop, one of the most iconic characters from my childhood. When I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, it was all about the action hero. You had all these R-rated action properties all over the place being marketed to children. It was awesome. Even RoboCop got the treatment.
Rockets will not penetrate that armor, but they might bury it. RoboCop to Metro West. I have immobilized the autonomous weapon. Please send backup.
The original RoboCop movies were comprised of 3 movies, making it a trilogy, or a thrilogy. The original movie is always regarded as the best one, a movie with intelligent humor, making fun of society, and providing a deeper story of a cybernetic police officer trying to regain his humanity. And I always hear this thing that the original RoboCop is the only good one and that everything else sucks. I actually kind of disagree with that. I see RoboCop 2 the same way I see Ninja Turtles 2, a sequel that kind of takes its own path and doesn't repeat what the first one does, and doesn't take itself too seriously at all, resulting in a much campier but entertaining movie. I mean, the very first scene opens up with a commercial advertising an anti-theft system for vehicles that basically fry thieves to death. It's like an electric chair in your car.
Magnavolt, the final word in auto security. No embarrassing alarm noise, no need to trouble the police. And it won't even run down your battery.
Magnavolt. Lethal response.
In fact, they randomly interrupt the movie several times with these crazy-ass commercials. There's an OCP Communications commercial in which a guy is so frustrated with the complicated phone system being used at his company that he loses an account and then he decides to blow his head off.
Lost the account.
And then there's a sunblock advertisement. Apparently in this world of the future, the ozone layer has been destroyed. So some heavy sunblock is required to keep your skin safe. Sunblock that literally turns you green and blue and is guaranteed to give you cancer. It makes no sense.
Sunblock 5000. Protection for the new age.
And then there's this. I don't even know what to say about this one. And where do we find the city of Detroit now? After RoboCop saved it from a crime wave in the first movie, there's a new threat in the city in the form of Nuke, an extremely addictive drug that looks like Mountain Dew game fuel, found in these little packages that you insert into your neck. Criminals all over the city are causing chaos over Nuke, and the police are on strike over low pay. So everything is just in a terrible situation. Buildings are exploding, hookers are beating up people for nuke money. It's complete mayhem. But fear not, RoboCop is on patrol trying to figure out who's making the nuke and where, as criminals rob a gun store and turn their advanced weaponry on our cybernetic hero.
Did you see that?
Police officer. Think it over, creep.
You know, there's this whole debate going on in the US right now about gun control. What guns should be able to be sold, what guns shouldn't be able to be sold, who can buy them. But I have never once heard of a gun store where you can walk in and pick up a high-powered rocket launcher right off the shelf. Maybe in the future? And right away you'll notice RoboCop's suit is just a little bit different than the first movie. It's got almost like a blue and purple hue added to it. Whereas in the first movie it was almost completely gray. I really like this new color scheme. It really gives it a new shine, a new coat of paint.
Bad language makes for bad feelings.
Murphy, come on, let's go. Come on.
And eventually RoboCop tracks down where all the drugs are being made. That was a really thin door, by the way. What was it made out of, aluminum foil? And then RoboCop casually goes up behind these two dudes and locks them in. This nuke factory has a bunch of Asian workers making the drugs, and I find this hilarious because there's some Spanish music playing in the background on a radio, so you'd think it'd be a bunch of Spanish workers in the mix, but I suppose anyone could be passionate about some salsa tunes. As usual, RoboCop has an epic shootout where he effortlessly blows away the bad guys.
Ladies, stay down.
Now, no shit from either one of you! And don't try to follow me!
We won't.
The baby's going with me!
No.
I'll kill it, man! I'll do it! I'll fucking kill it!
We can't have that.
Never boring scenes to watch. Oh, and that's most definitely a fake baby right there, too. His partner Lewis is back in the sequel, helping him raid the factory is back up, all by herself, since she's pretty much the only useful cop in Detroit besides RoboCop himself. And here we meet one of the main villains of the movie, Hob.
Can't shoot a kid, can you, fucker?
Hob has got to be at least like 11 or 12 years old, and he's already involved in a complete life of crime with no remorse. It's so amusing seeing a villain of this caliber that's essentially a child, because you see him have so much control over some of the adults in the movie, and RoboCop can't really do anything to him because he obviously isn't going to shoot a kid. He's a horrible little asshole, and he plays the role fantastically.
You just shut the hell up!
You mouth off like that again, and it's no more nuke for you, bitch.
Well, our current debt to OCP is
$37,480,911.
Guess you're in some pretty deep shit.
well, we need all the help we can get, young man.
Tell you what, put me down for 50 just to make sure.
50 cents, $50. That's cute.
Don't be a queer.
And the movie really plays up the angle that he's a kid really well, giving him this little gun that he uses to fire on the police. I was so curious about what kind of gun this was in the RoboCop universe that I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I died laughing when I read the description. Check it out. He carried a folding UC M21 submachine gun painted blue to make people think it was a child's lunchbox. He is walking around with a lunchbox machine gun. He's definitely a great villain, but he only works when he's being an evil criminal. Near the end, he's wounded and dying, and RoboCop finds him, and they share an emotional moment. But this moment really doesn't work for this movie because this kid has been so ruthless throughout the entire thing that you really don't feel anything for him when he dies. You just kind of don't care. And then there's this lady called Angie that he hangs around with. She doesn't really do a whole lot in the movie other than beg for more nuke. Not much to say about her. but she does happen to be the lover of the main villain of this story, Kane. This villain is bizarre, to say the least. He doesn't feel like a threat at all, and he looks like RoboCop could snap him in half with a thought. But even appearances can be deceiving. He runs the entire nuke operation, and it's almost like a cult, with people almost worshipping the ground that he walks on, as he's on the run from RoboCop and the police. When RoboCop isn't busting bad guys, he's creepily stalking his wife and watching her. Clearly she's noticed that a police car with a robot inside has been parking by her house all of the damn time, and she's being driven absolutely nuts by this. I really like this aspect of the story because at the end of the first movie, they established that RoboCop has regained his humanity, and in his mind, he's still Alex Murphy. He's not a machine. This is an example of a movie storyline flowing naturally from the first movie and attempting to develop the storyline further in the sequel, instead of ignoring plot points and pretending they didn't happen. I'm looking at you, Star Wars The Last Jedi. It even gets to the point where his wife can't take it anymore and she knows it's her husband, so she goes to the police station to find out the truth, and he's forced to pretend that he just doesn't know who the hell she is.
Alex, it doesn't matter what they've done to you.
Touch me.
It's cold.
They made this to honor him.
No.
Your husband is dead. I don't know you.
Damn, that is heavy. And OCP, the corporation that created RoboCop and runs the police, is not happy about this at all. And they're trying to force the idea in RoboCop's mind that he is a product, and he cannot continue seeing his wife. Alex Murphy no longer exists. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea to listen to anything OCP says, since they're not known for making good decisions. I mean, after the chaos that Ed 209 created in the first movie, they still made more and tried selling them.
Attorney General Marcus today approved the ED-209 combat unit for deployment in 5 American cities, despite widespread complaints of malfunction.
And they also keep experimenting with new RoboCop ideas that keep blowing up in their faces. An experiment they call RoboCop 2. That sounds familiar, like it could be the title of this movie. And why do they need more robot police? They already have RoboCop, and he's more than good enough.
Under arrest. Stop or I'll shoot.
Anyways, RoboCop has made it his personal mission to stop Nuke for good and arrest Kane, so he follows Hobb to an arcade, and he sees him making a deal with a dirty cop who's a nuke junkie. I love seeing arcades in old movies. It makes me so nostalgic seeing those neon lights and the glow of the CRT monitors inside that arcade machine. Ah, the golden days.
Isn't this a school day?
I don't know why that scene is so funny to me. All the kids just start chucking a bunch of popcorn at RoboCop. Let's watch that again.
Isn't this a school day?
Unfortunately, RoboCop has no respect for the arcade.
Officer Duffy, have a seat. Where is Kane?
I told you I don't know!
Oh, come on, man. Now you're just damaging a perfectly good Bad Dudes arcade machine. But at least it wasn't a good game like Final Fight. And actually, it couldn't be Final Fight, because if you look close enough, you'll notice that this arcade is filled with Data East games. Either the arcade owner was a huge Data East fanatic, or it could have something to do with the fact that Data East made RoboCop video games. Which is more likely, I suppose. And fun fact, I specifically remember having this exact same fan in my room growing up. I guess they're fairly common in the world of the future. And also, I love how gunshots break out in the arcade, and all these kids go running in different directions, and this one guy is just stumbling away slowly. Eventually, RoboCop tracks down Kane's hideout, and once again, it's bizarre. He has a picture of Mother Teresa on the wall, a picture of Jesus, a picture of Elvis, but not just that. It gets worse. He has the actual skeleton of Elvis dug up and displayed in a glass case. What? And then Kane pops up in what looks to be a bathrobe. What the hell is going on? If I was RoboCop, I would just turn around and be like, "You're okay, I'm gonna leave now." If you were expecting an awesome shootout scene like the one from the first movie, Drug Raid, you'll be sorely disappointed as RoboCop gets his hand blown off, then he gets electrocuted to the point where he can't move, then he gets picked up by a giant magnet, and then he gets placed on a platform as Hobb and all the other bad guys slowly attempt to dismantle him. I always thought that scene was really hard to watch when I was younger since it looks so incredibly painful, but technically they're just taking apart mechanical parts.
What the hell's going on?
Man, just look at him.
Christ, he's been stripped.
I feel like they defeated RoboCop way too easily, though. I mean, some kid and some other random junkies, led by a cult leader in a bathrobe. Come on, RoboCop could have taken them all down single-handedly. And the makeup job on RoboCop's face unmasked was already fantastic, and now we get some really great-looking animatronics. You guys know I'm a fan of animatronics. As I always say, this would be CG now, requiring no skills in terms of building props or robotics. Kudos to the creators. OCP ends up putting them back together, and like the geniuses they are, they mess him up beyond belief. They're trying to give RoboCop a more family-friendly demeanor, and they just fill his head completely with garbage commands to make sure he gives off a more positive appearance since parents have been complaining about him.
All that destructive behavior. He's become a role model for our children. Now what are we teaching them?
You have a point.
If he just talked things out with people instead of firing that big gun of his.
Couldn't he take a little time to address environmental issues?
For all the shooting he does, I've never once seen him take the time to do anything nice. Like visit an orphanage.
You're absolutely right. Or help a cat out of a tree, or go door to door collecting for the Red Cross, or maybe even roasting some marshmallows with some Cub Scouts.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I find this comedy ingenious because it's almost a foreshadowing of what was to come in the real world, with parents being outraged over the violent video games that came out of the early 90s. These scenes might come off as cheesy to some people, but I see it as the movie's way of poking fun at overly sensitive viewers that can't handle movies about bad guys being violently blown away. And everybody knows that something's wrong with him being overly friendly and rated E for everyone. It's hilarious.
How you feeling, Murphy?
I'm just fine, Warren. Thank you for asking. It's a beautiful morning. Shame to waste it.
Ready for duty, partner?
You betcha.
Let's go.
Nothing I'd rather do.
Harder! They're going to kick somebody's ass.
Come on, take him out.
I think we should talk.
What's with you, Murph?
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
He's dead, Murphy.
You have the right to an attorney.
You're reading Miranda to a corpse.
Though you may think you're having fun now, you only hurt the one you love. And now, a word on nutrition.
Shit, he's fucked up.
Bad language makes for bad feelings.
Let's go.
The point is, we all have to work. I haven't finished.
Hit the gas, Murphy.
The posted limit is 35. We should set an example, Anne. Your hair looks lovely.
They're going to kick somebody's ass.
What are you doing?
Waste makes haste. Back! Thank you for not smoking.
Now, I'll say this, although these scenes are comedically entertaining, they do feel a little out of place in the overall plot since it's undone as quickly as it starts, with RoboCop electrocuting himself to fix his head. And then he's back to normal, so I mean, it doesn't have any lasting effects at all. Now back to normal, RoboCop is pissed off, and he takes an entire group of cops with him to go after Kane, like he should have done in the first place. And by the way, that right here is a cameo appearance from Frank Miller, famous comic book artist and writer that's responsible for such classics like 300 and Batman The Dark Knight Returns, among countless others. This time around, RoboCop was ready for Kane and takes him out, injuring him to the point where his body is just completely broken. End of the movie. Just kidding. This is actually where the movie goes full crazy and really shows off how absolutely insane OCP is as a company. They probably should have been renamed the Umbrella Corporation. Instead of throwing Kane in prison after he heals, they decide it would be a fantastic idea to cut his head open, take out his eyes, take out his brain and his spine, and keep him alive in a tank until they decide to put his brain, the brain of a known drug dealer and violent criminal, inside a giant robot war machine they plan to use as a police enforcer. The logic here baffles me. It is never a good idea to use a criminal brain to bring an experiment to life. Look how well that worked for Frankenstein's monster. And how do they plan to control this monster? By keeping it desperate for more nuke and addicted. Constantly inserting the drug into its slot, complete with a nuclear logo on its chest. And as real-world stupid as this idea is, they did a great job making Robo-Kane look like a badass and powerful, packed with firepower, and his face is displayed as a PlayStation 1 tech demo.
Kane. Oh, wow. You look great.
And at this point, RoboCop 2 does start feeling a lot like RoboCop 1 all over again. RoboCop already dealt with the criminal bad guy and defeated him, just like the first movie. And now he has to take down another powerful robot, much like himself, like the first movie, as OCP decides to show it off. Because that worked so well in the first movie. Clearly they haven't learned.
No! No!
Even with the limited technology available when this movie was made, the filmmakers are still able to make a believable and entertaining final battle involving two machines without the use of CG. RoboCop, being much smaller, is getting thrown around. He drops RoboKane down an elevator as it climbs up like a spider with incredible speed, and they're both hanging off the edge of a tall building and continue the fight down on the ground once they both go crashing down. It's exciting as hell. Explosions are happening all over the place, and RoboKane, he just wants more drugs.
This could look bad for OCP, Johnson.
Oh, look at that. Lewis just did something that none of the other dozens of police officers thought of. Once again, the only useful human cop in the city. And she even helps RoboCop defeat RoboKane using his own drug addiction against him. like I said at the beginning of the review, I think RoboCop 2 is a good movie. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the original, but it's hilarious, it's entertaining, action-packed, and doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows it's a movie about a robot police officer fighting another giant robot monster of some sort. The Ninja Turtles 2 of the RoboCop franchise. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. You might as well just buy the Blu-ray trilogy, which is actually pretty damn cheap right now. Pick it up.
Will OCP make reparations to the victims?
That son of a bitch is getting away with it. We can't even touch him.
Patience, Lois. We're only human.
If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like and a comment down below letting me know. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media. You can also check out some of my other videos or click my Patreon link if you'd like to support GamerThumbTV. This is Fabian. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.